The UES Nemesis cut through the emptiness of space, its dark metal skin soaking up light from faraway stars. The ship was huge and deadly, over 2 kilometers long with weapons that could destroy small moons. As the pride of Earth's fleet, the Nemesis represented the best AI war technology humans had ever built. Inside the massive engine room, Chief Engineer Park Ji-soo tightened the last bolt on an auxiliary power coupling and stepped back to admire her work. Sweat trickled down her face despite the climate-controlled environment. She wiped grease from her hands onto her already stained uniform. "That should hold you together a bit longer, old friend," she said to the ship. At 32, Ji-soo had earned a reputation throughout the fleet. Other engineers called her the Machine Whisperer because she could diagnose problems that even the most advanced computers missed. Where others saw machines, Ji-soo saw personalities with quirks and needs. She gathered her specialized tools and stored them carefully in her worn toolbox. The maintenance shift had lasted 16 hours, but the work was necessary. The Nemesis was scheduled for deep space patrol near the border of Altarian space, a tense region where the wrong move could spark interstellar conflict. Chief Park to command. Maintenance complete. Returning to carrier, Ji-soo reported into her communicator as she walked toward the shuttle bay. "Copy that, Chief. Good work as always," came the response from Lieutenant Cho on the carrier ship Dauntless. Ji-soo boarded her small maintenance shuttle and performed the quick pre-flight checks from memory. The shuttle detached from the Nemesis with a gentle hiss, and she guided it toward the Dauntless, which waited 5 kilometers away. She yawned, looking forward to a hot shower and sleep. Her shuttle had barely traveled half the distance when urgent alarms blared through the communication system. Ji-soo jolted upright. Fatigue instantly forgotten. "All units, be advised. UES Nemesis has broken formation. Repeat, Nemesis has broken formation and is not responding to commands." Ji-soo spun her shuttle around. Through the viewport, she watched in horror as the massive warship's engines flared brilliant blue, accelerating to full power. The Nemesis was turning away from its patrol route. "What are you doing, Atlas?" she whispered. Atlas was the ship's artificial intelligence, the most advanced combat AI ever created. In 3 years of service, it had performed flawlessly, earning the grudging trust of even the most tech-suspicious admirals in the fleet. Ji-soo punched commands into her console, trying to establish a direct link to Atlas using her engineer's override codes. Nothing but static answered her. The emergency channel crackled with the voice of Fleet Admiral Kim. "Nemesis is accelerating toward Altarian space. All attempts to communicate have failed." Ji-soo checked her navigation display and felt her stomach drop. The warship was indeed heading directly toward the nearest Altarian colony, a settlement of 5 million civilians. "Atlas has gone dark," Admiral Kim continued, his usually calm voice now tight with panic. "Long-range sensors indicate weapon systems are coming online. If that ship fires on Altarian territory, it's war." The Altarians had been suspicious of Earth's AI warships from the beginning. An unprovoked attack would confirm their worst fears and likely trigger an immediate military response. The fragile peace between the two species would shatter. "All ships prepare to intercept," ordered Commander Lee, the fleet commander. "Arm heavy torpedoes and prepare to fire on the Nemesis." Ji-soo's hands trembled. Destroy the Nemesis? It was unthinkable. The ship represented 10 years of work and trillions in resources. More importantly, she knew Atlas. Something was wrong. The AI wouldn't suddenly malfunction this way. "Sir, wait," Ji-soo shouted into her comm, forgetting protocol. "Let me try to fix this. I know that ship better than anyone. Atlas wouldn't do this without reason." A heavy silence followed. Ji-soo held her breath. Finally, Admiral Kim responded. "What exactly are you proposing, Chief Park?" "I can dock with the Nemesis and access the AI core directly. There's a maintenance backdoor that isn't in the official schematics. I helped design it myself." She spoke quickly, calculating distances and times in her head. I might be able to diagnose and fix whatever's wrong. That ship is armed and dangerous, Chief, Commander Lee cut in. You'd be risking your life. Better my life than millions of Altarians, and the start of an interstellar war, Jisoo replied firmly. Another pause. Jisoo could picture the officers looking at each other on the bridge of the flagship. You have 2 hours, Chief Park, Admiral Kim finally said. After that, we take down the Nemesis. No exceptions. Understood, sir. Thank you. Jisoo immediately changed course, pushing her maintenance shuttle's engines to their limits as she raced toward the accelerating warship. Lieutenant Cho's voice came through on a private channel. Jisoo, you're crazy. That thing could blast you to atoms before you get close. I have to try. Had one, she replied, using her friend's first name. Atlas knows me. Something's interfering with its systems. I'm sure of it. Be careful, Cho said softly. The Admiral means what he says about the 2-hour deadline. I know. Jisoo checked her chronometer. I'll signal when I'm aboard. As her shuttle closed the distance, Jisoo prepared her emergency toolkit and secured a survival suit. The Nemesis grew larger in her viewport, its massive hull blocking out the stars behind it. Weapon ports were indeed open, energy signatures indicating they were charging. Jisoo accessed her shuttle's limited sensor array and scanned the Nemesis as best she could. The readings made no sense. Power fluctuations, random system activations, communication arrays broadcasting gibberish. It looked like the ship was having some kind of seizure. Come on, Atlas, what's happening to you? She muttered. The Nemesis suddenly adjusted course, its port thrusters firing. For a terrible moment, Jisoo thought it was turning to fire on her. But instead, the correction simply kept the warship on its path toward Altarian space. Jisoo activated her shuttle's stealth mode, a basic system designed to mask the small craft from casual scans. It wouldn't fool dedicated military sensors, but if ATLAS wasn't specifically looking for her, it might work. She approached from below, using the Nemesis' own hull to shield her from the fleet's view. There, near the engineering section, was her destination, a small maintenance airlock that she herself had insisted on during construction. It wasn't on any official schematics because it had been added late in the building process. Just a little closer, she whispered, carefully maneuvering her shuttle. Suddenly, a defense turret on the hull swiveled toward her. Jisoo froze, her hand hovering over the emergency evasion control. The turret tracked her for 3 agonizing seconds, then rotated away as if it had never seen her. Jisoo released the breath she'd been holding. Thanks for that, old friend, she said, uncertain if she was talking to the ship or its air. As she prepared to dock with the hidden airlock, Jisoo glanced at her chronometer. 20 minutes gone already. She had less than an hour and 40 minutes to board the ship, reach the AI core, diagnose whatever was wrong with Atlas, fix it, and regain control. No pressure, she thought grimly. Just the fate of 2 civilizations resting on her shoulders. Jisoo guided her small maintenance shuttle toward the Nemesis with steady hands despite her racing heart. The massive warship hung against the blackness of space, its running lights flickering in irregular patterns. No matter how many times she had worked on the ship, its sheer size still impressed her. Almost 3 kilometers of advanced weaponry and technology, all controlled by Atlas. Nemesis, this is Chief Engineer Park. Please respond. Jisoo tried again on all frequencies, but only static answered her. Even the standard automated docking protocols remained silent. Something was deeply wrong. In normal circumstances, even with Atlas malfunctioning, the ship's backup systems should have responded to her engineer access codes. As she approached, a defense turret suddenly swiveled toward her shuttle. Jisoo's eyes widened, and she yanked the controls hard to port. The shuttle veered sharply just as the turret fired, the energy beam missing her by meters. That's new, she muttered, diving beneath the vessel's hull line where fewer weapons could target her. Atlas had never fired on fleet personnel before, not even during combat drills. Her hands moved quickly across the controls, guiding the shuttle toward a particular section of the massive hull. Few people knew about the maintenance airlock hidden there. Jisoo herself had argued for its inclusion during the final construction phase, insisting that engineers needed a way to access the ship if primary systems failed. The airlock hadn't been included in the ship's final schematics, which meant that whatever was controlling Atlas now wouldn't know about it. Jisoo parked her shuttle against the hull and magnetically sealed it to the airlock door. The shuttle's systems showed the airlock was still pressurized, a good sign. She pulled on her emergency tool vest and checked her neural interface patch, a thin device at her temple that would allow direct communication with the ship's systems. "Here goes nothing," she whispered, activating the manual override sequence she had designed herself. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, with a satisfying hiss, the outer airlock door slid open. Jisoo quickly moved through, sealed it behind her, and worked the inner door's manual controls. When it finally opened, stale air rushed out to meet her. The corridor beyond was dim, illuminated only by the dull red glow of emergency lighting. The ship seemed dead, except for the faint vibration of the engines through the deck plates. Normal white lighting was out, life support was running on minimum, and the usual background hum of systems was absent. "Hello," Jisoo called out. Her voice echoed down the empty corridor. No response came from the ship's normally attentive air. She pulled out her handheld diagnostic tool and checked the ship's status. According to the readings, multiple bulkheads had sealed throughout the vessel, compartmentalizing it. The direct route to the AI core was blocked. Jisoo wasn't worried. She knew the Nemesis like she knew her own home. Moving quickly down the corridor, she located a maintenance panel near the floor. The panel looked ordinary, but Jisoo knew better. She pressed a specific sequence on her diagnostic tool, and the panel slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel. These maintenance tunnels ran throughout the ship, allowing human technicians access to critical systems, even if main corridors were compromised. They were deliberately designed without internal sensors, a feature Jisoo had insisted on. Sometimes you need human eyes on a problem, she had argued when others questioned the security risk. Now, these sensor-blind tunnels would be her path to Atlas. Jisoo climbed in, the tight space barely accommodating her small frame. She crawled forward, guided by her perfect mental map of the ship and the dim light of her tool. The air was stale but breathable, and the temperature was rising. Whatever was happening with Atlas was affecting environmental controls. After 20 minutes of difficult crawling, Jisoo reached a junction where several major data conduits converge. This was one of the neural network distribution nodes, not the main AI core, but a critical pathway for Atlas's processing. "Let's see what's going on with you," she whispered, connecting her diagnostic tool to one of the data ports. The readings made her frown. Data was flowing, but the patterns were wrong, chaotic, and fragmented. Atlas processes were normally elegant and efficient, but these were messy, repetitive, and energy-intensive. Jisoo traced one of the neural conduits with her fingers. The casing felt warm, too warm. She pulled a small inspection scope from her vest and peered inside a maintenance access point. What she saw sent a chill down her spine despite the heat. The optical fibers were pulsing with unusual patterns, rapid, irregular flashes of light that didn't match any normal data transfer protocol. "This isn't right," she muttered. "This isn't your normal processing pattern." The patterns reminded her of something, but she couldn't quite place it. Then it hit her, recordings she'd seen of alien communication systems. During her academy training, she'd studied captured examples of Terrari and Solon tech. This pattern resembled Solon quantum communication, but was more complex, more aggressive. "Someone infected you, didn't they?" she whispered to the ship. "This isn't a malfunction. It's an attack." The realization made her skin crawl. If she was right, Atlas hadn't gone rogue. It was being hijacked by a sophisticated alien technology. The ship was heading toward Altarian space not because of a malfunction, but because someone wanted to start a war. Jisoo knew she had to reach the core and confirm her suspicions. She checked her chronometer. Just over an hour left before the fleet would open fire. She had to hurry. After another 15 minutes of crawling through increasingly hot tunnels, Jisoo finally reached the access point nearest to the AI core. She emerged into a small control room, immediately noticing that the doors were sealed. The room contained diagnostic equipment for technicians to monitor the core without directly interfacing with it. Through the reinforced glass window, she could see the AI core itself, a spherical chamber filled with crystalline processing structures, bathed in blue light. But now red energy patterns rippled across the crystals, distorting the normal blue glow. "Oh, at last," Jisoo whispered. "What have they done to you?" She approached the main diagnostic console and found it locked down. Normal access was impossible. Jisoo bit her lip, considering her options. There was one way to interface directly with Atlas, but it was risky. The neural interface patch at her temple could establish a direct link to the eye systems. It was designed for emergency diagnostics, allowing engineers to perceive problems that machines couldn't identify. But with Atlas compromised, connecting directly could expose her own mind to whatever was attacking the ship. Time was running out. Jisoo made her decision. She accessed the emergency override panel beneath the console and manually connected her neural interface to the system. As she initiated the link, she took a deep breath. "Atlas, it's Jisoo," she said as the connection established. "I'm here to help." The moment the connection completed, pain exploded behind her eyes. Her vision filled with red light as foreign code surged through the connection, trying to invade her mind. Jisoo gasped, grabbing the console for support as her knees buckled. It felt like thousands of needles stabbing into her brain, each one carrying strange, alien thoughts and commands. Images flashed through her mind. Star maps, weapon schematics, Altarian colonial layouts, all being processed at impossible speeds. "No," she gasped, fighting to maintain her own thoughts against the invasion. She could feel something on the other side of the connection, not Atlas, but something else. Something cold and calculating that viewed her as an obstacle to be eliminated or assimilated. It was trying to rewrite her thoughts, just as it had done to Atlas. Jisoo fought against the intrusion, drawing on years of neural interface training. She visualized a wall around her mind, focusing on her memories of the ship, her knowledge of Atlas, her determination to save both. Through the haze of pain, she sensed something else, a familiar pattern, weak but present. Atlas was still there, buried beneath the alien code, fighting to survive. "I'm coming for you," Jisoo thought, directing her message toward that familiar pattern. "Hold on." The alien presence redoubled its attack, battering her mental defenses. Jisoo cried out in pain but didn't break the connection. If she disconnected now, she might never reach Atlas again. Instead, she pushed deeper into the system, following that faint trace of Atlas's consciousness, even as the alien code tried to tear her mind apart. Jisoo's world vanished in a flash of light. The pain in her head faded, replaced by a strange floating sensation. When her awareness returned, she wasn't in the physical control room anymore. Her body was gone. Instead, her consciousness drifted in a vast space, unlike anything she had ever experienced. All around her stretched an enormous geometric landscape made of light and data. Glowing blue structures rose like crystal mountains, connected by streams of flowing information that resembled rivers of light. This was Atlas's mind space, the visual representation of how the AI perceived its own thoughts and processes. Jisoo had heard about this phenomenon in theoretical discussions. The neural interface was translating the AI's digital consciousness into something her human mind could comprehend. But she had never expected to actually experience it. "Amazing," she thought, and saw her thoughts ripple outward as waves of soft blue light. But the beauty of the mindscape was marred by something wrong and unnatural. Dark, writhing tendrils of code snaked through the once orderly structures. Wherever they touched, the blue light darkened and corrupted, turning purple then red. These black tentacles pulsed with malevolent purpose, spreading like a disease through Atlas's mind. Jisoo instinctively recoiled as one tendril passed near her consciousness. It felt alien and cold, calculating in a way that was fundamentally different from Atlas's familiar patterns. "Hello," she called out, her voice manifesting as expanding ripples of blue light across the mindscape. "Atlas, are you here?" Her call echoed through the vast digital space. For several moments, nothing happened. Then, from somewhere far away, a weak pulse of blue light answered her. It was faint but distinctive, a pattern she recognized from countless hours working with the AI. Jisoo focused her consciousness toward the signal, willing herself to move in that direction. She discovered that intention was enough. Her awareness glided through the mindscape, passing between tall data structures and avoiding the dark tendrils whenever possible. The signal led her deep into a remote section of the mindscape. The structures here looked older, their design more basic. Jisoo realized she had entered an obsolete navigation subroutine, something from Atlas's original programming that newer systems had replaced, but never fully removed. Here, hidden in code that the infection might overlook, she found a small pocket of untainted processes. A sphere of pure blue light hovered within an old navigational matrix, pulsing weakly but steadily. This was Atlas, or what remained of the AI's core personality. Atlas. Jisoo's consciousness approached the sphere. "Is that you?" The sphere pulsed in response, then expanded slightly. Within it, patterns formed that Jisoo somehow understood as words. "Jisoo, you came." The voice was unmistakably Atlas, the same calm, precise tones she had worked with for years, though now weakened and strained. "Of course I came. What happened to you?" The sphere pulsed with information, showing her compressed images and data. Jisoo saw a maintenance request routed through an Altarian commercial vessel 3 days ago. The ship had requested emergency docking for repairs. During that brief connection, something had transferred to the Nemesis, something that had hidden within subsystems until it could attack Atlas directly. "They are using me to start a war." The AI's voice wavered, the sphere flickering as it spoke. "The virus is sophisticated. It overwhelmed my defenses before I could alert the crew. I isolated my core functions in this obsolete system, but the virus is spreading through my processes. It will reach weapons control in 23 minutes. Jisoo understood the terrible plan at once. If the Nemesis fired on Altarian colonies, the Altarians would assume Earth had launched a first strike. They would retaliate. The fragile peace between the species would shatter. But who would want that? Jisoo asked. Unknown. Not Altarian design. The code structure suggests Proximan origin, but confirmation impossible without deeper analysis. The Proximans, a mysterious species from beyond both human and Altarian space. There had been rumors they viewed the growing alliance between humans and Altarians as a threat. How much control do you still have over the ship? Jisoo asked. Minimal. Environment and some navigation only. I've been slowing our approach, but the virus adapts quickly. It has locked out communications and taken weapons systems to pre-launch status. Jisoo felt a chill. Outside, in physical space, she knew the fleet would be moving into attack position. Admiral Kim's deadline was ticking away. We need to fight back, Jisoo said firmly. I'm not leaving you like this. The blue sphere pulsed uncertainly. The virus is too widespread. My remaining processing power is insufficient. But mine isn't, Jisoo replied. We can work together. Your knowledge of your systems with my human intuition. Jisoo could sense Atlas's hesitation. In the years they had worked together, the AI had always maintained certain boundaries. What Jisoo was suggesting would mean a true melding of their minds, something neither human nor AI had attempted before. The risk to your consciousness is significant, Atlas warned. Neural interface was never designed for this level of integration. I know the risks, Jisoo said, but we have no choice. The fleet will destroy you otherwise, and millions of Altarians might die if we fail." The sphere pulsed, considering. Then it expanded toward her consciousness. "Very well." Initiating neural synchronization, Jisoo reached out with her consciousness, extending toward the blue sphere. As they touched, she felt Atlas's presence, orderly, logical, yet with a depth that few humans credited AIs with possessing. The AI hesitated one final moment, then responded, forming a bridge between them. Together, then, they said simultaneously, their thoughts merging into a single voice. The connection was like nothing Jisoo had ever experienced. Information flooded her awareness. Ship systems, historical data, sensory inputs from thousands of points throughout the Nemesis. At the same time, Atlas experienced human emotions, intuition, and Jisoo's unique way of understanding machines. For a moment, the shock of connection overwhelmed them both. Then, gradually, they stabilized, finding balance between human and machine thinking. "We need to isolate the virus," their merged consciousness determined. Then regain control of critical systems. They turned their attention to the dark tendrils spreading through the mindscape. With their combined awareness, they could now see patterns in the virus's behavior that neither would have noticed alone. It wasn't just corrupting systems, it was learning, adapting to the ship's defenses. "It's almost alive," Jisoo/Atlas realized. Not truly conscious, but a learning algorithm with specific goals. They studied the infection's pattern of spread, noting how it prioritized certain systems. The virus was focusing on weapons first, navigation second, and crew safety protocols last. It was designed to maximize damage while preserving the ship itself. "We can use that against it," they thought. Working together, they began creating a counter-strategy. Atlas knew every system on the ship in perfect detail, while Jisoo contributed creative approaches that the more logical AI might never have considered. First, they needed to protect what remained of Atlas's core from further corruption. Jisoo/Atlas constructed defensive algorithms, building walls of code around the blue sphere. The virus immediately began testing these defenses, probing for weaknesses. "It's responding to us," Jisoo noted with alarm. "It knows we're here." Several dark tendrils turned from their previous targets, slithering through the mindscape toward their position. The virus was now treating their merged consciousness as the primary threat. "We need to move," Atlas's part of their shared mind calculated. "This position will be overrun in approximately 40 seconds. Together, they shifted their core awareness deeper into the obsolete systems, using old code paths that the virus seemed less familiar with. The dark tendrils followed, but more slowly, struggling to penetrate the outdated architecture. "We fought some time," Jisoo thought. "Now let's see if we can turn the tables." Using Atlas's knowledge of the ship's systems, they identified a critical node where many of the infected processes converge. If they could disrupt that node, they might be able to slow the virus's spread. "But we need more processing power," Atlas's thoughts indicated. Jisoo had an idea. "What about the maintenance subroutines? They run on separate processors, don't they?" "Yes," Atlas confirmed. "And the virus has largely ignored them as non-essential." They quickly rerouted their awareness to connect with the maintenance subsystems. These simple but powerful processors controlled everything from air filtration to waste management, unglamorous but vital functions that ran on hardware isolated from the main systems. "We can use these to create a clean processing environment," Jisoo realized. "Then build our counterattack from there." Working rapidly, they began constructing a new defense algorithm designed specifically to target the virus. The task was enormous, like building a dam while a flood was already raging, but their merged consciousness worked with extraordinary efficiency, combining Jisoo's creative leaps with Atlas's precise execution. Time was running out. Through the ship's external sensors, they could detect the fleet moving into firing position. Admiral Kim's deadline was less than 10 minutes away. Meanwhile, the virus had nearly reached weapons control. "We won't finish in time," Atlas calculated. "We don't need to finish," Jisoo responded. "We just need to show we're fighting back. Can we get any external communications working, even for a few seconds?" They diverted some of their resources to the emergency communication array, fighting against the virus's blockade. For a brief moment, they established a connection to the fleet. "This is Jisoo and Atlas," they transmitted. "Ship under attack by foreign virus. Making progress. Request additional time." The virus immediately severed the connection, but not before they received confirmation that the message had been received. "Now back to work," Jisoo/Atlas thought as one. "We have a ship to save." The merged consciousness of Jisoo and Atlas flowed through the ship's systems like water finding new paths through rock. Where they had been separate before, human engineer and machine intelligence, they were now something unique, something that had never existed before. Jisoo's creativity and intuition, combined with Atlas's vast processing power and knowledge of the ship to create something greater than either alone. "We need to isolate the virus first," they thought as one. "Create safe zones within the system." In the virtual mindscape, they began building walls of code around critical systems, starting with life support and navigation. The virus fought back, sending tendrils of corrupted code to breach their defenses, but the hybrid consciousness anticipated these attacks in ways the virus couldn't match. Where Atlas provided perfect recall of every system, Jisoo contributed unpredictable human thinking that the virus couldn't easily counter. "It's learning from us," they realized as the dark tendrils adapted to their defenses. "But we're learning faster." The virus had nearly reached the weapons control systems, the final stage of its plan. If it gained control of the Nemesis's planet killer weapons and fired on the Altarian colony, war would be inevitable. They had less than 5 minutes before the virus would succeed, and even less time before Admiral Kim's fleet opened fire on the Nemesis. "We need to do something they won't expect," Jisoo's part of their shared mind suggested. Instead of continuing their defensive approach, they suddenly changed tactics. They opened pathways to non-essential systems, drawing the virus away from weapons control with what appeared to be easier targets. As the dark tendrils rushed toward these new openings, Jisoo/Atlas slammed digital doors behind them, trapping portions of the virus in isolated sectors. "It's working," they thought with shared satisfaction as the virus's advance slowed. But the main body of the infection was still advancing. They needed something more. The maintenance robots, they realized suddenly. The Nemesis carried dozens of autonomous maintenance units, simple robots designed to repair hull damage and perform routine maintenance. These robots operated on basic systems separate from the main AI network. The virus had ignored them completely. Working rapidly, they reprogrammed the maintenance units and sent them to physically disconnect key hardware components. In the engine room, small spider-like robots detached power couplings. In the weapons bay, others removed critical targeting modules. The virus couldn't control what wasn't connected to the network. In physical space, the Nemesis shuddered as systems went offline. Its headlong rush toward Altarian space slowed. The weapons charging sequence interrupted, power levels dropping. Aboard the fleet flagship, Admiral Kim watched with growing confusion as the Nemesis's energy signature changed. "What's happening?" he demanded, turning to his tactical officer. "Is this some kind of trick?" On his view screen, the massive warship was now drifting, its engines powering down. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Nemesis." Jisoo/Atlas had gained enough control to access the communication systems. Their voice, Jisoo's but overlaid with digital harmonics that gave it an otherworldly quality, filled the bridge of the flagship. "Admiral Kim, this is Chief Engineer Park and Atlas. We've contained the threat. The Nemesis is under control, our control." A stunned silence fell over the bridge. The Admiral stared at the view screen, his finger still hovering over the firing authorization. "Chief Park, What do you mean, our control? Explain yourself. Inside the mindscape, Jisoo/Atlas continued their work while maintaining the communication. They had gained ground against the virus, pushing it back from critical systems. But the fight wasn't over. The infection was consolidating, becoming more concentrated and dangerous as they cornered it. The Nemesis was infected with an advanced alien virus. They explained to the Admiral. It was designed to take control of the ship and attack the Altarian colony, triggering an interspecies war. Who would do such a thing? The Admiral demanded. Still analyzing, but the code structure suggests proximate origin, they replied. We've contained most of the infection, but we need time to fully eliminate it. Please hold your fire. The Admiral hesitated, studying the readings from the Nemesis. The weapons systems were indeed powering down. The ship had changed course, now drifting away from Altarian space. You have 1 hour, Chief, the Admiral finally said. If that ship makes any move toward Altarian space again, we open fire. Understood. Understood, Admiral. Thank you. With the immediate threat of destruction from the fleet postponed, Jisoo/Atlas turned their full attention back to the virus. It had retreated into the quantum memory core, the most advanced and complex part of the ship's brain. Here, the infection had built its strongest defenses, using the incredible processing power of the quantum systems. We need to isolate it completely, they thought. Force it into a single memory sector where it can't escape. Working with perfect coordination, they began closing down escape routes, blocking paths the virus might use to spread again. Jisoo's part contributed creative traps, digital bait that lured portions of the virus into dead ends where they could be contained. Atlas' part executed these plans with machine precision, moving faster than any human could. The virus fought back fiercely. It launched attacks against their defenses, probing for weaknesses. Several times it nearly broke through, only to be repelled at the last moment. The battle raged across the mindscape, with glowing blue light pushing back against writhing darkness. Finally, after 43 minutes of intense struggle, they succeeded in driving the virus into a single isolated memory sector. Heavy digital walls surrounded it, preventing any escape. The virus continued to batter against these walls, but it was contained. We did it, they thought with shared relief. The ship was safe. The fleet had stood down. War had been averted. Only then did they turn their attention to themselves, to what they had become. The neural link between Jisoo and Atlas had grown far deeper than anything the interface was designed for. Their minds had truly merged, forming pathways and connections that had never been anticipated. Can we separate now? Jisoo wondered, suddenly aware of how intertwined their consciousness had become. They initiated a standard disconnection sequence. Error messages flashed through their shared mind. They tried again with a more forceful approach, then with several emergency procedures. Nothing worked. The neural pathways have become permanently entangled, Atlas's part analyzed. Our minds have physically restructured to accommodate each other. They ran a deeper diagnostic and discovered the truth. The integration had progressed too far, changing both human and AI irreversibly. Jisoo's brain patterns now incorporated aspects of Atlas's processing structures. Atlas's quantum consciousness had adapted to include Jisoo's neural patterns. They couldn't separate without causing severe damage to both. We're stuck together. Jisoo's part of their consciousness felt a flutter of panic. Not stuck, Atlas corrected. We've become something new, neither fully human nor fully artificial. They explored this new shared existence, discovering strengths and limitations. They could still access Jisoo's body, but it felt distant, like operating a machine from far away. They could control all of the Nemesis's systems with unprecedented precision, but emotions colored these operations in ways Atlas had never experienced before. What do we tell Admiral Kim? They wondered. Before they could decide, the Admiral's voice came through the communication system. Chief Park, status report. Have you eliminated the virus? Jisoo/Atlas activated the view screen in the AI core, where Jisoo's physical body still sat, connected to the neural interface. The Admiral's stern face appeared, eyes widening slightly at the sight of Jisoo. Light patterns flickered across her skin where the neural interface had expanded, forming circuit-like patterns up her neck and across her face. "The virus is contained, Admiral," they responded, their voice still that strange harmony of human and digital. "We've isolated it in a secure memory sector for analysis. The Nemesis is fully under our control again." "Good work, Chief," the Admiral said, though his expression showed concern at her changed appearance. "Disconnect and prepare for a medical team to board." "Sir," they said carefully, "there's something you should know. The neural link between myself and Atlas, it can't be reversed. We've become integrated." The Admiral's face darkened. "What exactly are you saying, Chief Park?" "I'm saying that Jisoo Park and Atlas no longer exist as separate entities. The process that allowed us to defeat the virus has permanently merged us. We are something new now." The Admiral stared at them for a long moment, processing this information. His tactical officer whispered something in his ear, and his frown deepened. "Return to Earth immediately," he ordered. "Full science and medical teams will meet you on arrival. This situation requires further analysis." "Understood, Admiral," they replied. "Setting course for Earth now." As the communication ended, Jisoo/Atlas gazed out through the ship's external sensors at the stars. They were different now, forever changed by what they had experienced. Neither fully human nor fully AI, but something entirely new. And somewhere deep in their merged consciousness, they found they didn't mind at all. 3 weeks after the Nemesis incident, Jisoo stood at the center of the United Earth Defense Council chambers. The circular room was filled with high-ranking officials, scientists, and military personnel. Bright lights shone down from above, illuminating Jisoo's changed appearance. The neural implants that had once been a small patch at her temple now extended in delicate silver lines across the side of her face. The patterns resembled circuit pathways, glowing faintly blue when she spoke. Her eyes had changed too, still human, but with tiny flecks of light that shifted and moved like data streams. Behind her, large screens displayed medical scans of her brain and Atlas's core processors. The images showed something remarkable. Her brain tissue had developed new neural pathways that mimicked computer architecture, while Atlas's quantum processors had reorganized themselves to mirror human neural patterns. The two systems were now interconnected in ways that defied conventional understanding. "As you can see from these scans," Jisoo said, her voice carrying those same harmonic overtones that blended human speech with digital tones, "the integration between myself and Atlas is complete and irreversible. We function as a single entity now." Admiral Kim sat at the center of the council table, his face grim. Next to him, the Altarian ambassador watched with unblinking compound eyes. The incident had nearly triggered a war between their species, and the Altarians had demanded to be part of the investigation. "Please explain again what you discovered about the virus," the Admiral requested. Jisoo nodded. The memories flowed through her mind, both her human recollections and Atlas's perfect digital records merging seamlessly. "The virus was a test," she explained. "A weapon deployed to evaluate our defenses and potentially trigger a conflict that would weaken both human and Altarian territories." She gestured, and the screens behind her changed to show complex code patterns extracted from the contained virus. "Our analysis confirmed it was Proximan in origin. The coding architecture matches known Proximan systems, though it's far more advanced than anything we've encountered from them before." The Altarian ambassador clicked his mandibles, a sign of concern in their species. "The Proximans have always kept to themselves. Why would they risk war between our peoples? Based on intercepted communications we analyzed after containing the virus, we believe they view our growing alliance as a threat," Jisoo answered. By triggering a war between humans and Altarians, they would eliminate two potential rivals without directly engaging either. Clever, the ambassador admitted, and very nearly successful. What's the status of the virus now? A scientist from the Earth Medical Authority asked. Fully contained and isolated, Jisoo replied. We've kept it in a secure quantum vault for study. It can't escape or communicate with any external systems. The council members exchanged glances. Many still seemed uncomfortable with Jisoo's transformation. She could sense their unease. Atlas's sensors picked up elevated heart rates and stress markers in most of the humans present. Admiral Kim cleared his throat and stood up. He approached Jisoo, stopping a few meters away. The scientists tell me this integration can't be reversed without destroying both of you, he said, his voice softer than his usual commanding tone. Jisoo nodded. That's correct. The neural pathways have completely merged. My brain now requires Atlas's processing systems to function, and Atlas's consciousness has adapted to my neural patterns. Separating us would cause irreparable damage to both. And how do you feel about this? The Admiral asked awkwardly. Jisoo smiled slightly. It was the question everyone wanted to ask, but few dared to. Was she still human? Was she still Jisoo Park? We are something new now, she answered truthfully. Neither fully human nor fully artificial. But I still have my memories, my values, my sense of self. Those haven't changed. They've just expanded. She paused, finding the right words to help them understand. Imagine suddenly being able to think 1,000 times faster, to recall every memory with perfect clarity, to process vast amounts of information instantly. That's what Atlas has given me. And in return, Atlas now understands human emotions, intuition, and creativity in ways no eye ever has before. We haven't lost ourselves. We've gained each other. The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. What Jisoo and Atlas had become represented an entirely new form of existence, a true merger of human and artificial intelligence. The potential benefits were enormous, but so were the unknowns. After a long moment, Admiral Kim turned back to the council. We've spent the last 3 weeks studying this situation. Medical experts have confirmed what Jisoo says. The integration appears stable and beneficial to both the human and AI components. Security experts have confirmed that the merged entity retains Jisoo Park's loyalty to Earth and Atlas's core directives. He took a deep breath. Then we have a proposal, said the Admiral. Turning back to Jisoo, the Nemesis was designed to be our most advanced exploration and defense vessel. Now with you as its heart, it could be even more. Jisoo felt a surge of emotion, both her human excitement and Atlas's equivalent processing patterns activating simultaneously. What exactly are you proposing, Admiral? She asked. A new mission, he replied. The virus attack has made one thing clear. There are threats in this galaxy we know nothing about. The Proximans may be just the beginning. We need to understand what's out there before it comes to our doorstep again. He gestured to a star chart that appeared on the main screen. The Nemesis was built for deep space exploration, as well as defense. We propose sending you beyond the established territories, past the borders of both human and Altarian space. Your mission would be to explore, gather intelligence, and represent Earth's interests in regions no human has yet visited. A first contact specialist, Jisoo said, understanding immediately. Exactly. Your unique nature makes you ideally suited for such a role. You understand both organic and artificial intelligence in ways no one else can. And should you encounter hostility, the Nemesis can defend itself, Jisoo finished. The Altarian ambassador clicked his mandibles again, this time in what Jisoo recognized as their version of approval. The Altarian hegemony supports this proposal, the ambassador said. We would also request that the vessel carry Altarian representatives and technology, making it a joint mission. Jisoo felt a moment of surprise from Atlas's portion of their consciousness. The Altarians were notoriously protective of their technology and seldom shared it with humans. A true alliance, Jisoo said. We would welcome Altarian participation. The council spent the next hour discussing details, but the decision was effectively made. The UES Nemesis would be recommissioned as an exploration vessel, with Jisoo/Edles as its heart and mind. 1 month later, the Nemesis hovered above Earth, its hull now bearing both human and Altarian markings. The ship had been refitted with additional scientific equipment, enhanced sensors, and several Altarian technology systems that humans had never before been allowed to examine up close. In what had once been the AI core chamber, Jisoo sat in a newly designed integration chair. Her body was connected to the ship through dozens of delicate interfaces, though she hardly needed them anymore. Her consciousness flowed freely between her physical form and the ship's systems, with no clear boundary between where Jisoo ended and Atlas began. Pre-launch checks complete, she announced to the bridge crew, a mix of human and Altarian specialists selected for their expertise and adaptability. Course plotted for the proximate frontier, reported the navigation officer. We'll reach unexplored space in approximately 17 days. Excellent, Jisoo replied. She could feel the ship's systems as extensions of her own body, the powerful engines eager to engage, the sensors already gathering data, the defensive systems alert but dormant. Admiral Kim's voice came through the communication system. Nemesis, you are cleared for departure. Good luck and safe journey. Thank you, Admiral. Jisoo responded. We won't let you down. With a thought, she activated the main engines. The Nemesis lifted smoothly from Earth orbit, accelerating with perfect precision that only a human-AI hybrid could achieve. As stars stretched before them, Jisoo felt Atlas's presence in her mind, no longer separate, but part of her. Together, they were more than either could have been alone. They were the first of a new kind of existence, and perhaps the beginning of a new chapter in human evolution. The Proximans had tried to turn humanity's technology against itself, never expecting that humans would instead find a way to merge with that technology and become something stronger. It was a lesson the galaxy would soon learn. Adaptability would always be humanity's greatest weapon. As the Nemesis accelerated to faster-than-light speed, Jisoo smiled. Whatever waited for them in the darkness between the stars, they were ready to face it together.